Hey there, guys. First of all, about the previous budget run video I made, I was a little bit moody during that, so definitely apologies for, being in the mood. But we're going to move on. We're going to be going for a rank 1 clear with an alternate team from the previous one I posted. People asked me to do one without Esther, without Kain, without, Kresnik, etc. So we're going to do that. So all modifiers turned on, and we're going to be swapping Esther for Chow. That's going to be our tank. We're going to swap Kain for Kain, and we're going to be swapping Lightning and Kresnik for Roka and Sakura. As far as Sky and Laura go, a lot of people ask me to do clears without them. Unfortunately, I don't really have Graf. Graf at EX3 could absolutely be a sub-in for one of those. He does really high damage, just like Kain does. But other than like Laura, Sky, Kain, Esther, Kain, and Graf, like the viable DPS for hard hitters and Clash, it just drops off a cliff at that point. So it's really hard to damage cap without like Laura or Sky. Anyway, let's focus on the clear we are going to do. So we're auto-covering the magic with Chow at the moment, so there's no reason to cast his cover. So we're going to do Most Loyal, True Guardian, and just Most Loyal again. That's a morale fill. Sakura, in the shift form, is going to do True Thunderstone, and then just Thundega twice to hit the boss. Sky is going to shift and do her shifted LB. And then Kain in the shift form can just triple Impulse Drive. Roka can just triple Boomer. And Laura can triple Hot Shot. This is just to gain weakness damage from hitting the boss. We don't really need anything from that. Anyway, so we have accuracy down on the boss at this point, and the whole party has 50 or better evasion in the current form. Chow is auto-covering the magic, so all the damage is handled. Yeah, Sakura does a 100% Thunder and Earth Resist buff, which is helping out Chow quite a bit. Now, we're only covering the magic. We're not Omni-covering, by the way. And Chow is helping counter a decent amount. So, we're going to go ahead and summon... we're going to do the morale skill. Then we're going to summon Ramuh with Sakura. That's going to put up the Imperil field, and it'll be there for the rest of the fight. It's a 10-turn duration field, so it'll still be there for later. We're going to reload and have Chow do all his morale stuff a second time. Sky is going to go to the base form, and we're going to triple Absolute Mirror of Equity. We're going to triple Absolute Mirror with Kain. We're going to triple Bolting with Roka. And we're going to triple Bolting with Laura. Alright, so we're going to send the Bolters together and then the Absolute Mirrors together, and that's going to give us the chain count score because we're not doing the chain count score on the kill turn. So 100 count chain, done. Okay, very nice. So again, just some more attacks. Not really worried about it. Chow is going to counterattack, etc. Fill morale. A lot of attacks on this dumb boss. Okay, so on turn 3, the first thing you want to do, we'll go ahead and put up the some stat buffs as well. Let's shift Sky and do her shifted LB, and we need to hope to get some more crystals on Sky as well. We're going to use the shifted LB of Sakura. That's going to put up the big amplify. We're going to Courageous Roar now on Laura to help fill Sky's LB back up. We're going to use Roka to Stone Slayer. If your Roka is not EX3, you can use the other Stone Killer buff instead. It's a little bit lower, but it works. And we're going to haste 2 times. Chow, at this point, we're going to use on Chow both the morale skills, but only once each. And we're going to do Focused Inspiration, which is an 80% mitigation, and we're going to need that for later. Let's see. Kain is going to now set up for his jump. We're going to Cooldown, Magnus, and Impulse Drive in that order. It's important to do it in that order. Okay, some more attacks on the boss. Now we need to really hope that we get some crystal drops on Sky, or that Chow counters a bunch and fills up Sky, because we need her LB again to keep stacking her up. So, hopefully the boss cooperates and Chow counters a bunch and we get some crystals on Sky, we fill her LB. There we go, we got it. Okay, perfect. Now, if we didn't get Sky's LB, we can shift to the base form, which is wearing LB fill rate gear, and do the rest of our stuff. So Sakura on this turn is going to do the Imbue, and then we can just hit the boss twice with Thundega and hopefully get a crystal drop on Sky. Laura is going to shift here and do her her shifted LB, her volatile. But our Sky is good to go, so we're going to use Sky to do the shifted LB to stack it up again. Laura is going to use volatile ammunition on turn 4. On turn 4, Roka is going to SLB herself. That's going to refresh the cooldown on the Stone Killer buff. We're going to use the morale skill. It's also going to give a 300% LB damage buff to Sky. Chow on this turn needs to put up cover again, and then one each of the morale skills. And then Kain can go to the base form and Thunder Jump. Make sure you do it in the base form. More than one of my test attempts were ruined where I jumped in the wrong form on Kain. Don't do that. Make sure you jump in the right form. Anyway, because someone is jumping, the boss is doing healing reduction from exhaustion. It's not really going to matter too much for us, but keep in mind the healing, your tank is going to take less healing if someone is jumping or hiding during your clear. But we should be fine with it. Okay, so we are going to take some damage on Chow during the threshold. So that's the reason we're doing these mitigations as we go. So this turn, Chow is going to do Provoke for his big general mitt, and then again, one each of his covers, or his morale skills. Laura is going to go back to the base form and do normal attack. Roka is going to do Tidal Wave. This is a trial materia. It's a 45% attack and magic break. Obviously, that's extremely low, but it's the only really break I could realistically fit in this clear, so we're using it. We're going to use the attack buff from the morale bar. Don't use the defense buff on turn 5. Sakura on this turn is going to do True Thunderstone, and then we're going to do Protectka and Shelga. Those are for Chow. And then Sky to the base form, where she's going to do Tyvis' Spirit for the burst. Because we're using Roka, we can Tyvis Spirit on every single burst. So there's the 200% morale, just enough. It is a little tricky to do 200 morale, but if you don't get all the way to 200, it's okay, because turn 6 is not actually our big burst. Our big burst is going to be on turn 10, where we're going to do the damage cap. So if your morale isn't quite maxed out by turn 6, that's okay. Turn 10 will be the final burst. Anyway, so at this point, like I said, this is going to be our first burst to push that threshold. Kain is ready to drop. So before we do anything, though, we're going to use Chow's base form LB for Omni cover. That is going to protect everyone from the threshold, because the boss is going to have accuracy. We're also going to use Sakura to Toxic Rain to disease the boss for even more damage bonus. Because Kresnik's not here ruining the plan, we can have disease for the burst turn. Laura is going to shift. Now, we did Volatile already, and the boss still has that 90% defense break. So on this turn, we're going to use Shots in the Air, which is a Laura only 200% machine killer buff. So Shots in the Air from Laura. Roka is going to support chain with Go Boomer. And Sky is going to shift and do the shifted LB boosted by Tyvis. And then we're going to go ahead and put up the attack and magic buff. We're going to put up the Relentless Will for morale gain this turn. And this turn, like I said, Chow is going to be taking damage. I have specifically geared Chow so that, well, you don't see it there, but he's going to have and in peril during the threshold. Anyway, let me go ahead and do a defense and spirit buff for Chao, because he is going to get hit a little bit during this threshold. Anyway, so we're going to do our burst. Now, depending on variance, we actually might even damage cap on this turn, even without Chao. It really depends on variance. If we do, great. If we don't, okay. So we're going to go ahead and chain these up, cap it with Sky and Kain. And we'll see what kind of damage we did. We might do 2.5. Okay, so we damage capped on turn 6. That always won't happen. That just needs a high variance roll, or it depends on your gear. Here's the threshold. So some attacks are going to be hitting Chao. So keep that in mind. That attack hit Chao. That attack hit Chao. Okay, so not many. Because we weren't Thunder and Perils, we actually didn't get that many attacks on Chao. It seemed pretty safe. Oh, okay, that's fine. But sometimes your Chao will get hit harder. It shouldn't kill your Chao if you're geared similar to mine, but just be aware that the boss can deal decent damage during the threshold. So the boss does have a attack and magic buff right now, so we're going to use Roka to dispel that. First of all, let's put the good stone buff back up. We're going to go Boomer to perfect dispel, and we're going to haste to help refill LB gauge for Chao. Chao on this turn is going to just fill morale gain, so we're going to triple morale fill. He's still Omni covering, by the way. Laura back to the base form, and we're going to triple hot shot. Sakura on this turn is going to triple. We're going to just imbue again, status reset, and just deal some thunder damage to the boss. Sky is going to go to the base form. We're going to finally do her Magnus for the first time this fight, which is going to deal or do a big attack break. So at this point, the boss now has an 87% attack break. Also, the attack and magic buff is gone, so Chao is very, very safe at this point. Let's go ahead and put up the attack buff just for morale gain. Let's shift Kain, because his shift form is wearing a lot of support autocasting. We're going to cool down and double impulse. That is going to give us his boost for another jump. So this turn is fine. This turn 7, the boss does very, very low damage. He does still have accuracy, but we are also still Omni covering with Chao. Minimal damage, as you can see. Okay, so he's going to counter a decent amount. Okay, turn 8. So on turn 8, we're going to LB with Chao as the first action to Omni cover again, because the boss still has accuracy. So we need one more turn of Omni cover from our Chao. We're also going to do the defense and spirit buff, as well as the attack and magic buff, because this turn, the boss is going to do Rock Slide, which can deal a decent chunk of damage to your tank, depending on your gear. So we're going to use Golem to help mitigate even more for Chao. We're going to also use Roka to SLB, targeting Sky. That's going to reduce the Tyvis's STMR cooldown, so it's usable again. We're going to shift Laura, and she'll do Volatile Ammunition to put that 90% defense break back up. And Sakura is going to go to the shift form and shifted LB. That's going to put a 45% Thunder Amplify back on the party. And then Kain is going to jump again. Make sure you shift to the base form and do Thunder Jump. Don't ruin your clear by accidentally doing his shifted jump that's wearing all support gear and is also a wrong element. So this turn, the boss is going to do Rock Slide. Also, some hits on Chao. My Chao is very well geared. Yours may not be so well geared. There's Rock Slide. As you see, because we had Golem, because we had all the buffs from Sakura, we had the mitigation buff from Chao, it did pretty low damage. Not a problem. Also, because we intentionally, I'll show you right here, because we intentionally geared Chao to be vulnerable to Thunder, notice he's got 90% Thunder resist, not 100. He's intentionally taking those physical hits, and that lets him counter more, and fill LB gauge. Because we really needed his LB gauge to refill for this turn, because we just did Omni Cover. But it did. So now Chow is going to shift on turn 9, and we're getting ready for the final burst. Chow is... the boss's accuracy, by the way, is gone at this point. It's blinking, meaning the boss, it's going to be gone on the boss's turn. So now Chow is completely safe. So he's using, in the shift form, he's using enough Earth Resist for immunity, and Thunder Resist we're now going to evade. So that's fine. So shift form of Chow is going to Magnus in this order. Magnus, cooldown, and double Chow Condemnation. That's going to get him ready for next turn. Sky is going to Tyvus again. Roka is going to triple cast Haste. That's going to refill Chow's LB gauge the rest of the way. Laura, back to the base form, where she's going to normal attack to get her modifier boost. We'll do this for stats. And then we're going to use Sakura to cast D-Shell. It's a 75% spirit buff, which is pretty terrible, but it's the best I could realistically fit on this party. That's going to help Chow deal a little bit of damage. Chow is going to have a heavy damage penalty because we don't really have much of a spirit break on the boss, but oh well. As you can see, at this point, the boss has no accuracy, so we're evading all the physical, and Chow is still Omni covering. Okay, so here is turn 10. Now this is going to be the same exact burst as turn 6. We already damage capped. The only difference is now Chow is going to help. Chow is not going to contribute that much damage, to be completely honest, but, you know, so if you didn't damage cap on turn 6, here's your second chance for a variance roll. First thing we're going to do is Toxic Rain, again with Sakura, to disease the boss. Chow is going to shifted LB. Sky is going to shifted LB. Laura is going to shift and again do her Machine Killer chain. And then Roka is going to support chain with Go Boomer. We're going to do the morale, defense, and spirit buff for Chow. We're going to do the attack and magic buff for the rest. And we'll toss the heal out there just for more morale gain. Okay, so we're going to send Chow first, then we're going to send the chainers, then we're going to cap it with Sky and Kain. And this should be a 2.5 or better, depending on variance. You know, we already damage capped, but let's get our second burst of the fight. So send Chow, send the rest, send this, wait for the chain to build, and drop Kain. And we're looking for a 2.5 or better, just for, you know, the science's sake. 2.88, yeah. The second burst is a lot better because Chow is helping out. So there it is. We damage capped on both of the turns. And my Kain is only EX2. He doesn't have his flat stats at EX3. Perfect score. There you go. Let's check out the damage breakdown. Now the damage breakdown, Lara Croft is dominating here. There's a few reasons for that. The biggest reason is killers. Lara Croft was the only person on the party who had a machine killer. She had a 200% machine killer from her self-only buff. No one else had any machine killer whatsoever. As you can see, killers are a tremendous, tremendous deal on these fights. The rest of the party only had a 160 stone killer from Sakura, including Laura. Yeah, and then Kain does approximately similar damage to Sky. There you go. Keep in mind, Sky is using a spear, so is Lara Croft, though. I'll show you the gear in a minute. But, yeah, Kain is a very, very good damage dealer for this Clash of Wills, you know, so don't forget him if you did pull on him. Graf is another one. Graf can also, at EX3, or EX2 even, can deal really high damage in this Clash of Wills. So if Kain or Graf, you know, if you own those units, consider bringing them. Now, Chow, unfortunately, got the short end of the stick. He only got a 75% spirit break. He had to gear for tanking, even in the shift form. He had to go heavy on a resist gear and evasion. So he did not deal great damage, but he did great for morale. So, yeah. So here was an alternative clear, which hopefully helps you guys out. I'm going to grab a sip of water, and then we're going to show you the gear. So be right back. Alright guys, let's show the gear. Now keep in mind, one thing real quick. I made a few small adjustments on my turn chart that I'm going to post in the comments that are more optimal, and I realized during the clear. So the turn chart may not line up exactly the same as the video you just watched, but the turn chart is more accurate, or you could do it the exact same as the video did. As you saw during the video, it worked fine. I'm just trying. I just like trying to optimize as much as possible. So here's the party we use. So requirements on the party: the entire party that on any form that is going to be active for turns 1 through 5, they need 50% evasion. They don't need anything else. No resistance, nothing. Just 50% evasion only on the form that is active on turns 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. On turn 6 and beyond, it doesn't matter because Chow is Omni covering starting on turn 6. Now Chow needs, in the base form, 50% evasion. All you need is 50%. He also needs to have 250 or better to earth resist. And here's the tricky part. With this clear, we want to have between 265 and 270 lightning resist. We do not want 275 or more lightning resist. That is too much. We want to intentionally leave him slightly weak to lightning in phase 2, so we trigger more counterattacks for more morale and more LB fill. That is important for this clear. So 265 or 270 lightning resist is the goal. 260, 255. At that point, Chow's going to start taking a lot more damage. It might be okay, but try to balance it. If you get 275 or more, you're going to be immune to lightning in phase 2, and you won't counterattack, and you're going to run into problems filling LB gauge, which I realized was kind of a headache. It could still work. It's RNG. I don't like RNG. So 265 lightning resist, 250 or better earth, and then 50 or better evasion. In the shift form, all he needs is 250 earth resist and 50 evasion. So 50 evade, 250 earth resist in the shift form. Other than that, geared for damage. Now here's the actual gear. So we're using the no matter the cost card, and then here's the gear we're using. He needs to be using his TMR or STMR in both forms as well. We also gave him Blizzard Orb, and then if you own it, Looming Wrath. If you don't own Looming Wrath, Proof of Talent is a permanent source of counter up. Some LB fill if you can fit it. So here's the gear. This is definitely a gear intensive clear, but it's kind of expected if you're not using Esther, who makes it really easy. And then shift form was geared for quote unquote damage, but having to gear for evasion, having to gear for 250 earth resist, having to use a tanking card. His damage was dramatically nerfed, but it's still, he did some. He did what I think 240,000 or million on the burst turn. So I mean he helped a little bit. So there's our Chow, and then he couldn't fit killers. Killer. 225 machine. Okay. Yeah, and he's and no stone killer. He's on the Alexander Esper. Now Kain in the shift form is just using 50% evasion. Other than that, a thunder weapon. So give him a thunder. Actually, that's not even important. We're doing imbues. So thunder weapon is not important in the shift form. Other than that, auto casting morale stuff. Double lilies, philosopher's stone. I should have given him Phoenix Synergy too. I didn't think of it. Whoops. So Phoenix Synergy would have been even more morale per turn if you own it. There we go. More Phoenix Synergy. All the auto casting you can fit in the shift form. All that matters is 50% evasion. Nothing else matters in the shift. Base form damage. Until the variance patch, always put Blaze Spear in Kain's main hand. Always main hand the Blaze Spear Plus for that good variance. Once the variance patch comes in, you're always going to use his two-handed Chronicle. Offhand, always the one-handed version of the Chronicle. Other than that, jump damage versus Stone and Machine. We're using until the variance patch. You gotta always use the Azure Crystal card. After the variance patch, he'll use his own card. But yeah, there's his build. He doesn't need any kind of evasion in the base form because he only goes to the base when he jumps. He's never on the ground in the base form until turn 6, and at that point we're doing Omni covers. So there we go, and I think he had maxed everything. Max jump damage, max stone, max machine. There's our Kain. If your Kain is EX3, he's even stronger. Sky, in the base form, you don't actually need, because you don't need a thunder weapon. As much auto casting as you can fit. She's got 50% evasion naturally. Tybus' spirit, sort of important. And give her some fill rate. That way on turn 4, if you didn't fill your LB, you can shift to the base form temporarily and hopefully get a crystal drop or 2 during turn 4 and fill her the rest of the way. Yep, so there's her build. Shift form is using a 2-handed spear. This one is naturally thunder element. That's because it's just my best 2-handed spear after Emotion Lance that was given to Laura. So just your best 2-handed spear, because we're not using a gun imperil on this party, so we're using spear imperils. So 2-handed spear, killers, LB damage versus machine and stone, LB damage card, maxed LB, 225 stone, and 275 machine killer. So she wasn't maxed on killers. If you own the Tybus card, that'd be great here. I don't have it, so sad face. Yep, there's her build. Oh, I should have given her a machine killer accessory. Whoops. Oh well. Lara Croft, base form. Make sure she's dual wielding with her TMR equipped. That's really important for the modifier boost that we did on turn 9 and 5. Other than that, auto casting, Paws of Prosperity help out on turn 3. If you didn't buy these, not a problem. They're optional. We only used it once the entire fight. Auto casting, etc. Oh, make sure she's using a thunder weapon. That's not important. We always do imbues. I'm so used to my old strategy. Also, toss a few Esperfield gears on the party. Just spread them out. Because we need to summon Ramuh on turn 2. So make sure you've got enough Esperfield to get us a turn 2 Ramuh. Shift form, because we're not using a gun imperil, she's using a 2-handed spear. We're using the Emotional Lance. Other than that, killers, her TMR, etc. Her own card. And she did the most damage. She did 250 stone and 300 machine. And she did the biggest damage in the party. There's her build, because Lara Croft is insane, even if she's using a spear. Even if spears are bad, she still did a ton of damage. Roka, just support. All that matters for her is 50% evasion. By the way, Laura, as you know, has 50 evasion naturally, so we didn't have to gear for it. Roka, dual wielding instruments with conductors for more morale fill. Dual wielding Galbana lilies, 50% evasion. This is important. We needed a way to break the boss attack and magic for the threshold. This is a trial reward from some old trial. I forgot. I think the Shinryu trial, the original one. So super easy. If you didn't get it, go turn 1 OTK Shinryu, get this reward, or use like Chaos Grenade or World Destroyer. Just some kind of way to break the boss on turn 5. That way the threshold has a break. Yeah, and then I gave her a mana regen card, whatever. Like, her gear is super irrelevant. She's really here just for LB buff for Sky and Stone Killer. That was the big deal. Support chaining. Oh, also she perfect dispels on turn 6 or turn 7, which is a little bit important. Ramuh Sakura, again, support unit. So all that matters is 50% evasion or better. We're using the Tulian card. You could use the Bohemian card or whatever you want. Just get evasion somehow. Again, morale stuff. So Galbanas, double conductors, Philosopher's Stones, and Toxic Rain. This is important for disease. So on the actual burst turn, we do disease. Don't disease the boss before the burst turn. Disease him on the burst turn, because we actually don't need Sakura to chain on those turns. Shift form, geared identical. Same exact gear, both forms. And yeah, she did the field, she did the thunder imbue, she did status immunity. And your Esper, your Ramu Esper, needs D-Shell learned for breaking Spirit, because we have no other Spirit break on the entire party. So D-Shell from the Ramu Esper, and she's got to be on the Ramu Esper for the field. So there is an all mission, not an all mission, there's the perfect rank 1 score with this team. Hope it helped. See you guys next time.